working people.
Thank you. Bob Blackman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and a pleasure to follow the Honourable Member for Washington and Sunderland. And indeed, add my congratulations to the Honourable Member for Birmingham Erdington for her maiden speech. I can assure her that actually the caseload continues year after year. Can I say from the outset that I also want to appreciate another formidable lady, Her Majesty the Queen. And I was delighted to see her being able to join in the celebrations of her Jubilee unaided yesterday. On the gracious speech, I wish to talk about several of the bills that are coming up. First, the Levelling Up and Regeneration Bill, which I think gives us the opportunity of levelling up each part of the United Kingdom. I was absolutely over the moon with the local election results in Harrow last week, where we took 8 seats from Labour and control of the council for the first time since 2006. And I look forward to the hard-working councillors levelling up Harrow and for putting right what has been going wrong for far too long. And on the transport bill, my constituents depend on good public transport, and across the UK we need good public transport and getting people out of their cars and onto public transport. So I'm delighted that this morning Catalyst, the developers, withdrew their planning application to build high-density multi-storey flats on the Stanmore Station car park, and I trust that TfL will now abandon that plan completely. On the social housing regulation bill, I hope that we're going to go further, not just regulating social housing, but expanding the amount of social housing across the UK and providing more affordable housing for the people that need it. We've got to stop selling public land and start building homes on it, instead of allowing developers to end up with unsustainable capability. On the Renters Reform Bill, these are central, and I refer the House to my declaration in the Register of Interest. I have a concern that in just abolishing Section 21 no-fault evictions, which the government consulted on in 2019, we will improve the security of tenure for tenants and also make sure that we are strengthening the position around which landlords can give cause for gaining possession of their properties back. But what we must not do is lead to more Section 8 evictions and tenants being landed with county court judgments across the piece. So I hope that we're going to have a new lifetime tenancy deposit model that eases the burden on tenants when they move from one tenancy to the next, which will improve the overall private rented sector. I also remind the government that my landmark Homelessness Reduction Act the trigger for that is a Section 21 notice that then leads to the local authority having responsibility to help and advise people who are threatened with homelessness. So if we abolish Section 21, I want to make sure that local authorities are not let off the hook from their responsibility of ensuring that they help and assist single homeless people. It is also important that the government stands by its pledge to develop a new ombudsman for private landlords so that disputes are resolved without going to court and expensive processes on both sides. On the financial services and markets bills, I'm delighted to hear that the government is going to preserve access to cash. Far too many bank branches and ATMs have closed, and access to cash is a priority for many people in our society. So I'm pleased that that's going to happen, and particularly the elderly population of this country still rely heavily on cash and are dependent on that. So we must protect that part of society. I also welcome the Boycotts, Divestment and Sanctions Bill. It's quite clear we do not want local authorities or other public bodies across this country having their own foreign policy. That is something to be determined by the UK government. It means that the ongoing commitment to support the UK's Jewish community and support for Israel is fundamental, and I'm delighted to see that. In terms of the other bills, the schools bill is clearly vitally important as we return to normality under the pandemic, and I welcome that, and indeed the higher education freedom of speech bill. I am one of those people that believe that people should be free to say what they wish as long as they can be challenged on it, but not that we should get to a point whereby people are shouted down and prevented from putting forward their views. And finally, Madam Deputy Speaker, this is Dementia Action Week, and clearly people that are getting older and frailer, we must have more action for that from the National Health Service. So I welcome and support the Queen's speech.
Steve McKee.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. This government's great on slogans,